At the start of the 2026 season, this team had one of the most promising young talents on the MotoGP grid. But were they going to have a bike for him? Welcome back to another edition of 2025 MotoGP midterm report cards. And yes, we're talking about Factory KTM. But before we dig into it, if you could please like, follow, share, subscribe, mash all the buttons so you get all the MotoGP content you can possibly imagine. And fun fact, we kind of reply to almost every comment, so come talk some MotoGP with us. It's why we're here. Okay, so let's dig in. We have the KTM factory team. That's right, we are into the factory boys. No more independent teams, the teams that aren't supposed to win. We're grading them on a little bit of easier scale. No, it's time for the big boys. These are the factories competing for wins and podiums in MotoGP. Are they all created equal? No, they are not. Are they all at the top? No, they are not. Do they all want to be at the top? Yes, they do. So let's get started with KTM, and we start with rookie wonder boy from last year, Pedro Acosta, in his sophomore season. Now, he came out of the gate swinging his first year. There wasn't much at stake for him. He was just throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying to learn a MotoGP, impressing the hell out of everybody. The kid is a phenomenal talent, there's no doubt. And going into this offseason with all of KTM's troubles, there was big question marks of whether or not Pedro Acosta was looking for the door. Because let's face it, when you have someone who's coming up and he's hailed as the next Marc Marquez, we're expecting him to win titles. We're expecting him to compete for wins. And so is Pedro. He does not want to be on a bike that features him in the mid to back of the grid. He needs a bike that he's going to compete on. And yes, he wants to build it with KTM. Let's not make any guesses that, oh, well, he just wants to move on to the next best, greatest thing. No, he's been with KTM a long time. I think he would prefer to stay there in that family, in that ecosystem that has taken such good care of him over the years. But when rubber hits the road, the guy wants a bike that's competitive. So how is he doing this year? Well, he's had a couple of standout results, especially this last round at Brno, second in the sprint, third in the Grand Prix, and he said even in Parc Ferme, I've been a tough rider to be around. I haven't been very happy. I haven't been the most fun person to hang out with. I thank the team for sticking with me, and hopefully this is just the start of a lot more great opportunities and chances to be on the podium for the rest of the season. They're looking at this as maybe the step that can get them over the hump at KTM, but for the rest of the season, it hasn't been all that impressive. Yes, he's been in the top 10. Yes, he's been in the top 6, but this guy isn't there to fight for top 10s and top 6s. I mean, right now he is 7th in the championship. Behind all the factory Ducatis, behind some of the independent Ducatis in Gresini and VR46, okay. But he's also behind Marco Bezzecchi. Now, if you want to be the next big thing in MotoGP, I think the KTM rider in Pedro Acosta has to be kind of the next best rider behind the Ducatis. Will I give him a little bit of a break with Marc Marquez having a phenomenal year and Pecco Bagnaia and Digia and Morbidelli and Alex Marquez all on superior machinery? Will I give him a little bit of a break? Yes. But being, what is it, almost 30 points, 32 points behind Bezzecchi on the Aprilia, and Bez is just now starting to figure it out. Acosta needs to be further up that row. He needs to be competing with Bez neck and neck, and if he really wants to be considered an A-list rider, that's where he needs to be. He's had some decent results. He was strong in Assen, strong at Aragon, 4th place in both. But I want to tell you, those aren't 4th places that are all that good for him, let's just say. Yes, top 4, great. 5 seconds off the podium, 4 seconds off the podium. Means he wasn't competing for a podium. He was riding what they say a lonely 4th place just outside. It's almost the worst place to be. Because if you're one place further ahead, you're on the podium, you're celebrating. If you're one place further back, it really wasn't your weekend. But when you're 4th place and you're 5 seconds behind 3rd place, you're not competitive. Not really. I think the results make us think the season is going a lot better than it actually is. A lot of times you can look at points and it can be a bit deceiving. Oh, wow, he's 7th in the points. That's not so bad. Only Bez and the Ducatis ahead of him. That's not so bad. But he's never really felt like a title threat. He's never really felt like a podium threat, with the exception of Brno. He needs to be in the leading group. Let's just Put it that way. That's where we expect him to be, in the leading group. Do I expect him, or did I expect him to be competing with Marc Marquez? No, not at this point. Not on the KTM. I mean, this is a team that was talking about halting all development. This is a team that was talking about shuttering their entire race program. I mean, they very well could have not raced this year, and KTM has basically pulled it together, scraped up the money, and still gone racing. So you have to take your hats off to that, but it's not really the recipe to compete with the best of the best. So no, I didn't expect Pedro Acosta to be competing with Marc Marquez. I did kind of want to see him competing with the best of the rest, with the Alex Marquezes, with the Digias, with the Viñales up there. Now, yes, he's ahead of Viñales in the points. Okay, points. We're talking about week in and week out race results. He needs to be the fastest KTM all the time. He needs to be fighting with Pecco and Alex Marquez all the time. He needs to be beating Marco Bezzecchi all the time. That's where my expectations are for him, and I think that's where his expectations are for himself. I'm not just pulling this out of my you-know-what. This kid expects to be competing on the podium. Does he know that he doesn't quite have the machinery yet to win races consistently? Absolutely. But he does expect to be on the podium, and he does expect the team to help get him there, because he knows he has the talent it takes to get there. So let's go down to Brad Binder, who's had, by all accounts, a dreadful season. 12th in the points so far this season, the third KTM, even behind a Maverick Viñales that missed the last 2 rounds before the summer break. I love Brad. I can't tell you how much I love Brad. I love his riding style. I love how out of shape the bike looks sometimes, the rear end stepping out. He's so much fun to watch, but the qualifying has not been fun to watch. Now, yes, he was 6th at Aragon on the grid, but he sees himself in Q1 almost every week. He's qualifying in 15th and 16th and 18th too often for a factory rider. You can't be qualifying back where the rookies are qualifying. You're on the Factory KTM. You should be the number 1 KTM. You're the 3rd. He's the one there with experience. He should be leading this team, or at least trying to lead this team, and he just hasn't been competitive. It's just not good enough. Now, yes, he finished 6th at Jerez. Great. I think that's his best finish of the year, is 6th. Other than that, he's some 8ths and some 10ths and some 12ths. That's okay when you're on an independent team. You're on the factory team. You can't be coming through Q1 every single race. You can't be finishing outside of the top 10 consistently. Now, he has beat his teammate on occasion, but when the points are added up, I mean, he's like 30 points back. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And he's right there with Maverick Viñales. Like I said, Maverick missed the last 2 rounds with injury. He's just not getting the most out of a bike, and never in any weekend has this guy felt like a threat this weekend. You look at the standings on Friday and you never look, oh man, Brad Binder, like he's going to make it through to Q2 this week. It just feels bleak on his side of the garage. Now, there's been some talk that, like, the grippy tires and the way that the KTM is riding, it no longer allows him to ride in that crazy wild style that makes him fast. He's got to be a little smoother to be fast, and that's just not quite him. Whatever it is, it's just not working right now. And I know everyone on that side of the garage is probably massively frustrated, because at one point, this guy was the flavor of ice cream KTM preferred. I mean, everyone in that garage loved him, loved his attitude, loved the way he rides the bike, loved everything about him. And now it's some tough sledding. It really is. And it's hard to watch because the guy doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't look fast. And when you're riding around qualifying 18th, it's probably not all that fun to be a big fancy factory rider. The expectations, like we said, are a lot higher. This guy, minimum, should be up where his teammate is. Top 6, top 7, top 8. He can't be behind Zarco in the points, behind Viñales in the points, behind all the Ducatis basically in the points. That's not how you keep your job at a factory. It's cutthroat. He's going to find himself looking at independent seats, begging for a job sooner rather than later if something doesn't change over there. Now, finally, I want to go to the team, because the team overall, I mean, yes, the financial crisis at KTM, interruption in their program, like, are we even going to have a program? And they managed to keep the lights on. They managed to keep everyone moving forward. They bring a lot of parts. They got a testing program over there that's like no other, with Danny Pedrosa and Paul Espargaro. I mean, you have so much experience in that garage. They bring over Maverick Viñales. They bring over Enea Bastianini to support the factory guys on the independent team. They are trying, for sure. It's just not quite bearing fruit yet. Now, is the Pedro Acosta podium at Brno hopeful? it gives me a little hope in a couple of ways. It gives me hope that on a track that no one had been to in a few years, that Pedro could be fast on the KTM, and the playing field was kind of leveled for them there. So when everything was kind of equal, they can be fast. Now, when we go to Austria this next week, we're going to see, well, on their home court, can they be fast? And the answer really has to be yes. Because if they can't be fast in Austria on their home soil, I don't think they can be fast anywhere else. They haven't really taken a step. And we're going to look back on the season and say, Brunel, it's a fluke. Pedro, you better look for the door. Get over there and get on one of those Ducatis next to Marc Marquez next season. People are going to be saying that right now. So I think they deserve a lot of credit over there at KTM for being able to score points and being able to, where are they in the championship right now? They're 90 points behind VR46, so they're fourth in the championship. And you may say fourth, okay, behind the three Ducati teams. We're going to say Gresini, they're a powerhouse with Alex Marquez right now. VR46, they got two talented riders and a really good motorcycle. So KTM being right there is not too bad, right? Consider this. They're fourth place in the standings right now, ahead of a Factory Aprilia team that has only really had Marco Bezzecchi riding for it. The only reason they're not fifth behind Aprilia is that Jorge Martin has ridden in, what, 2 races, a race and a half this season? That's going to change very, very quickly in the back half of the season. Mark my words, Aprilia is going to be breathing down KTM's neck within a week or two after the summer break if Martin starts performing next to Bezzecchi. They're going to start closing other teams down, and the first victim will be Factory KTM. So yes, I give them credit for keeping the lights on. They're doing a great job that way, but it does feel like overall the project needs a little bit of kick in the pants, and they're going to get it from Aprilia. We'll see how they do in the second half of the season and whether or not they can compete. I mean, Yamaha is only 50 points back of KTM, and they only have Fabio Quartararo scoring points. So yes, it looks rosy sitting there fourth. Not so bad. Why are you being so hard on them? It's kind of a cheating fourth, I'll be honest with you. You have a Factory Yamaha trying to find its way with only one rider collecting points, and even then, he's been sporadic at collecting points. And then you have this team who's had 2 riders on all year long, like basically no one else. Name another team whose riders have barely missed any time. I mean, I think you have the Factory Ducati team, VR46, neither of them have missed any time. You have the Gresini boys, but they have a rookie on their books. So you look at KTM, 4th place. It's kind of a fake 4th. Okay, grade time. So for Pedro Acosta, again, I told you I'm going to be brutal. These are the Factory teams. Pedro Acosta gets a C+. And I don't think this is really based off of my expectations for young Pedro. This is based off of his. We've seen how upset he is at himself and at the bike all season long. He's been a big, fat, grumpy Gus, and that's going to continue if he's not getting the results. C+, I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Pedro would agree with me. What he's doing now isn't good enough. If he wants that to be a B, he needs to be up there in the points next to Bez. He needs to be beating Bezzecchi. He needs to be less than 4 seconds away from podiums when he finishes 4th. He needs to be fighting. For Brad Binder, I'm afraid the news gets even worse. I give Brad a D+, and the plus is only because I love you. I love you, Brad. That's why you get a plus. But it's been a bad, bad season. And honestly, the biggest thing is like, are the results on Sunday that horrible? Nah, he tends to move forward. But the qualifying, you can't be a Factory rider consistently long-term in MotoGP if you're qualifying in 16th place. They're going to find someone else to ride this bike. That's what a D+ means. For the team overall, I'm giving them a grade of a C. 4th place feels pretty good, right? So you get a passing grade. But again, I think Aprilia is going to move past them pretty quick in the back half of the season. I don't think they really have the firepower to compete with the other manufacturers and stay even in the hunt. They're too far back to be even on the podium in the team's championship, and they're just not going to make it's going to be tough. It's just going to be tough. C is as good as I could get, and I'm moving that from a C- to a solid C based on the money issues, based on the things that they've been dealing with over there, that they have been able to keep the team going. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, no one really cares if you're having a tough time. It's about results. That's what the sponsors want. That's what the fans want. We want results. We want top finishes from top riders. Well, there you go. That's my first factory midterm MotoGP report card. And we're going to be back with all the other factories this week, all week long. So make sure you stay tuned.